Hi, I'm David Wovrosh, attorney with the Legal Aid Society's Low Income Taxpayer Clinic, and I'm joined today by Adrian Brandicourt with United Way of Greater Cincinnati. Now, tax time is just around the corner, and for many people, that means a tax refund. We're here to talk with you about what options you have to receive that tax refund and some important considerations to think about if it takes longer than expected. As always, go ahead and type your questions in the chat. We'll answer them in the chat. First question, what happens when you receive a refund? Well, first, when your return is filed, the IRS has to accept that return before you get a refund. If you receive more in credits and withholdings than you owe to the IRS will pay you the difference. This is called a tax refund. And if you're owed a tax refund, the IRS will send that to you shortly after they accept your return. However, you must let the IRS know how you'd like to receive that refund. There's really two popular options that are offered by the IRS to do this. One is a paper check, and two is a direct deposit directly into a bank account. Now, let's start by talking about the direct deposit first. Why am I talking about the direct deposit first? Well, it's the quickest and most secure way to receive that tax refund. A direct deposit is simply when the IRS puts your refund into your bank account. This is quicker because the IRS doesn't have to print off a check and it doesn't have to go through the mail. It's more secure because it doesn't have to travel through the mail, and so there's no risk that it will be lost or stolen. And to have a refund direct deposited into a bank account, the account number or the account that you want that deposited into only has to have an account number and a routing number. Where are these? Well, you can locate the account and the routing number on the front of a check. You can bring a canceled check or simply a check with the word void written across it to your tax preparation appointment, and the preparer can use that check to find the account and routing number and put it on your return. The account routing number will be listed on that tax return, usually at the bottom of the second page, and we would encourage you to reference it if you need to speak with the IRS about your return or the account that the refund was deposited into. Now let's talk about refunds by check. The IRS can mail your tax refund directly to your mailbox. Now, if you don't include any bank account information on your return, by default, the IRS will mail the refund to the address that's listed on that return. Also, if the account or routing number are incorrect, so off by a number or so, the IRS can't deposit the refund through direct deposit. And so what do? The IRS will just send a paper check to the address that's listed on your return. So please be sure that when you're reviewing your tax return, you make sure that the address is correct, you make sure that the account and routing number are correct. Now, because checks have to come through the mail, they'll often take a lot longer to arrive than direct deposit. So I want to talk to you about how long you can expect it to take for a refund to arrive. And in fact, how often will it take? Where's my refund? Those are the most frequently asked questions that we receive. So if you file a return and it's accepted by the IRS and you choose a direct deposit option, you'll usually receive a refund within 21 days from the date that your return is accepted by the IRS, though often it's usually sooner than that. Now, like I said, paper checks take longer to arrive. And so if you choose to have a paper check mailed out, you'll usually receive that refund within 6 to 8 weeks from the date that your return is accepted. Now, what happens if you don't receive that refund? If it's taking a little longer to get that refund than anticipated, you can check the status of that refund and see where it is in the process. And you can do that by using the IRS's secure portal called Where's My Refund. You can enter your social security number, your filing status for that year, and the exact amount of your refund. And that will tell you where your refund is in the process. We're dropping a link to that site in the chat here. The Where's My Refund tool will show you the status of your refund. But if your refund's been delayed because of an IRS examination of your return, it may not show up on the Where's My Refund tool. But the IRS will send a letter to you, so be on the lookout for any letters from the IRS. Make sure you open it if you get one, especially if you don't receive a refund within the expected time. Now, if the status on the Where's My Refund tool shows that the refund's been sent out or that it's been direct deposited, but you still haven't gotten it, you can request a refund trace from the IRS. And a refund trace simply asks the IRS to track what happened to the payment. To do that and to request a refund trace, you can use the IRS Form 3911, and a link to that form is going to be listed here in the chat. If your return was direct deposited, the IRS will inform you of the account and routing number of the account that it was deposited into, as well as the date of the deposit. If the refund was sent out via check and it was actually cashed, the IRS will provide you with the date it was cashed, as well as an image of the cashed check. If the check was sent out, but it was just never cashed, so it was lost or destroyed or something along those lines, the IRS will send you a replacement check. So they'll make sure that you get that tax refund. So finally, I'd like to talk to you here a little bit about some important things that you should consider about when you're filing as it relates to that refund. So first, if the IRS sends you a payment for any reason, at any point during the year, they're going to send it to the address that you listed on your most recent tax return. And that's especially doubly so if you've requested a check. If you requested a direct deposit, the IRS will deposit any payments throughout the year into the bank account that's listed on the most recent tax return that's been filed. And that's why it is crucial to know the last address that you listed on your return, as well as the bank account and routing number that you listed on your most recent tax return. Review that before it gets filed so you know exactly where any payments and communications from the IRS will go during that year. Now, the IRS will update your address and your banking information each time you file a return. But if you need to change your address with the IRS before you're filing your next return, so you're between filing seasons, you can't actually do that. You can contact the IRS directly, or you can also send them a signed Form 8822, and we're going to include a link to that form here in the chat. Now, a word of caution. It's recommended that you include a bank account or routing number that you have access to on that return. Before filing a return, make sure you review it and make sure that your address is correct and that the bank account and routing number is one you're familiar with, that it's accurate, and that you have access to it. Finally, if you don't have a permanent address or if you just don't have access to the mailbox at your home, you can list a P.O. box as your address on your tax return. That's where the IRS will send checks, and that's also importantly where the IRS will send any communications to you. Of course, to have a refund, you first have to file a return, right? And so here to talk with you today a little bit about some great filing resources in the community is Adrienne Brandecourt with United Way of Greater Cincinnati. Adrienne?
Thanks, David. Yes, you're correct. The IRS will not send you a refund until you file your income tax return. And now is the time to do that. United Way of Greater Cincinnati fights for the economic well-being of all community members, both now and in the future. One way we do that is to help file your tax return. United Way offers 2 ways to file your federal and your state income tax returns for free. Our DIY service is accessible through the virtual platform myfreetaxes.com. This service is available online, and it allows you to prepare both your federal and your state tax return on your own, completely for free, provided you meet the published household income limits. And if you're worried you might need help while completing your tax return, not a problem. myfreetaxes.com has a dedicated helpline, so you can call and ask questions while you're completing your tax return. Then we have Free Tax Prep. This is our full service tax preparation. In this case, an IRS certified and trained volunteer will prepare your federal and your state tax return for you. All you need to do is bring the correct information and review your return for accuracy before we file it electronically for you.
All right, so let's talk about who is eligible to receive these services.
Eligibility typically includes anyone with a household income below a certain threshold. Our services are perfect for students, families with children, low-income workers, retirees on a fixed income, and anyone who needs a bit of extra help during tax season.
All right, so folks who qualify, what do they do to get an appointment?
Great question. You can find a location near you by visiting our website, uwgc.org, or by calling 211 directly. We have over 30 locations across the greater Cincinnati region. Most of these require appointments, which can be made through our website or by calling 211. A few sites offer walk-in services where no appointment is necessary.
All right, and so let's talk about that appointment. To make sure it's a successful appointment, what should folks bring with them to that appointment?
Oh, that's a very important question. First of all, be sure to bring your picture ID, your social security card, your tax documents to include W-2s, 1099s, a copy of last year's tax return, and any other relevant tax information. And to your point, David, since we were talking about direct deposit of refunds, if you would like your refund direct deposited, you do need to bring your banking information with you. That is your account number and your routing number. If you're filing jointly with a partner or a spouse, that person needs to come to the appointment with you, and they need to bring the same information. You'll also need to have social security cards for all dependents on your tax return.
And so let's talk a little bit about refunds here. Yes, you can get a refund from this previous year, but what if you're eligible for a refund for prior years?
Oh, also a good question. The IRS only allows you to claim refunds from the prior 3 filing years. This means that you can claim your refund now for any tax year from 2021 through 2024. However, after April 15th, 2025, you will no longer be able to claim your 2021 refund. So it's important to file that return now if you haven't done that. United Way has tax sites that can prepare these past due tax returns. If you need your 2021 return prepared, you should call 211 to schedule an appointment. Just remember that some sites will only schedule 1 tax year per appointment. So if you need more than 1 year's return prepared, you might need to schedule more than 1 appointment. Remember to make an appointment and visit one of our tax sites. We can help you claim your refunds now rather than later. And we're dropping the links to our social media accounts in the chat.
All right. Thank you so much here for joining us. And that's all for now, folks. Remember, you don't just receive your refund in the mail, you also receive letters from the IRS. We always encourage you to open those letters and read those letters. Sometimes the IRS will audit you or tell you that there's issues with your return. If you have any issues with your federal taxes, you receive letters from the IRS that you're not familiar with, go ahead and give Legal Aid's Low Income Taxpayer Clinic a call. We may be able to help you out. Our phone number is 513-241-9400. And as always, we'll continue doing Facebook Live chats, dealing with important tax topics. So make sure you follow us on social media at Cincy Legal Aid. See you soon.